Hello, and welcome to Behind the Headset, where we interview and get to know a bit more about some of the people in the VR sphere. And tonight, we are graced with the presence of Blair Renaud. How are you, Blair?
Good. How are you? How did you pronounce my name?
Do you know what? I knew I was going to get this wrong. I said Renaud. Is
No,
that
it's just
right?
Renaud.
It's just Renaud. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm wrong already, but that's the only thing I have to do, because now you're going to answer questions. So,
Okay.
So we're going to do 3 sets of questions, same as we've done for everyone else. First section is to get to know you more. Second section is about VR and gaming. And the third section is a quite fun little questionnaire created by a French journalist called Bernard Pivot. So we're going to get straight into it. Your first question for today is, tell me something about you that I don't know.
Okay. On the spot. I married a man to help him stay in the country.
No.
An English guy. Yeah, this was like 15 years ago.
Okay.
We're divorced now, obviously.
Have you got over it by now? Is what I want to know. If you didn't,
yes. I'm like super over it. I don't even know where he is. He could be dead for all.
That's incredible. That is the most surprising answer I've had from someone so far, I think.
Well,
that's a good one. I like that. That's insane. Why would you?
And like to be clear, not that it matters, but we're both very straight.
There is no judgment in any of this at all. People can do whatever they want. I'm very much of late. As long as you're not hurting anyone else, who cares?
That's what the Canadian government thinks as well. So.
That's incredible. Excellent. Cool. All right. When you were young, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I actually, well, I mean, how young? I think very young. It was probably like
this is like you've got the floor now, man. You answer the questions how you feel fit.
Starship engineer probably was like early, maybe Ghostbuster. But then as things became more realistic, I actually wanted to be a game developer. Like when I first kind of like stepped into an arcade and like saw what was possible, I was like, oh my God, like how are these made? Like what, people are making interactive virtual worlds. I need to, like, what's cooler than that? It's literally like making the holodeck, it's like,
I think you're the only person so far who has actually become what they wanted to be when they grew up. I think you're the only one so far.
Now I'm curious.
There may be more.
What other people wanted to be.
Oh, we've had some interesting answers. You can watch them all when they're on there, but yeah, you can see what I think. Okay, so what is your most treasured memory from your childhood?
Treasured memory? I don't even know. Oh God. I remember like my earliest memory is a weird one where I'm like in a stroller and it's autumn and it's like I remember the place where we were and my mom is just like in the back of the stroller and the sun is on my face and I must be like one, like less than one maybe,
right?
Because I'm in a stroller and it's just kind of like the autumn well, I was in a place called Oakville, which is right beside Toronto, and just like how like memories are kind of connected to like smells and feelings more than the actual.
Yeah, I think smell is actually the most connected to memory. Yeah, I think that's the science behind that.
I think so as well. So it's like it's just kind of like the vibe of that kind of moment, and it comes back to me a lot because it's kind of the first one. So whenever I'm like in the sun in autumn, it's just like I remember being, whatever that was, 45 years ago. But as far as like cherished memories, like I don't know. I didn't have an amazing childhood.
Right.
It was okay.
That's fair enough. But the sun in your face in the middle of autumn, that seems like a good one to have, definitely. Cool. Okay. You're going to throw a dinner party. And at this dinner party, you can invite 3 people. And they can be living, they can be dead, they can be real, they can be fictional. Who are you inviting to your party?
Ooh, holy cow! Do you have a lot of like dead space after you ask these questions?
There's a couple of
Like,
that, yeah. But
yeah,
I
that's
don't like to fill it. I like people to think because I don't want to give
okay.
any ideas of what you should or shouldn't say because that's not what it's about. This is not about me. This is about you.
Living or dead and fictional or like okay, so um Bruce Lee.
Okay.
How many people?
3.
Three. Okay. Oh God. Well, this is gonna get weird. Because I don't know if like the people would jive. Uh, yeah, Bruce Lee. I think I don't know why that's the first one to come to mind. I think he like he was very influential. You know, like how I'm trying to think of like who were like my heroes growing up, or
Sure.
like who kind of affected me. I think it
Hmm.
would be the people I'd want to meet. Bruce Lee's definitely one. The answer I would give for like who was like a hero growing up, I like Geordie LaForge for some
Okay.
reason from Star
Yeah.
Trek Next Generation. But like I don't I don't think I want Geordie at my dinner party if I like if I could pick anybody.
To be fair, his sense of taste might be heightened compared to everyone else, so he's probably a
Right,
good
right,
dinner
right.
party guest to have.
Well, am I making the food? Because I might not want that.
The food is perfect. It's a fictional
Oh,
dinner
okay.
party. We're
Oh,
not
okay.
worried about that.
Right, right. Um, hmm.
One more.
Oh, okay. So Geordie's my second one. Okay, this is a weird party. I would want somebody maybe like ooh, God, he might not be a good dinner guest. Like an Isaac Newton maybe. But
Okay.
I heard he had like some serious Asperger's and was like a major jerk.
I
So
mean,
that might not be.
that
So
would.
let's go with like maybe a Da Vinci or something. I'm assuming
Okay.
they get to speak English,
Yeah, yeah. Everyone can
like
talk to each
modern
other. This is
English.
yes, yes. This is all made up, so it's fine. Like,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
can all.
I think I'd like some sort of like yeah. Let's go with Da Vinci. That's good. Like a
That
Renaissance
would
kind of.
be an interesting thing because they're all, in a sense, some form of creator. They all create things. Bruce created Jeet Kune Do. Geordie
Mhm.
creates stuff in the engineering. Da Vinci created everything.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that's like the type of person I find interesting is kind of like a
hmm,
Renaissance man kind of thing.
sure.
Well, like Da Vinci is the ultimate Renaissance man, right?
Hmm.
Like it wouldn't be we're like so how's work? You know, it's like they'd have more interesting answers than just
Yeah.
like the one thing that they do.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's a good
topics of
definition.
conversation would go in some vast directions with those three. Definitely,
Yeah,
it'd be
exactly.
really, yeah, be a
I
good
think
night.
I want to sub out Jordy. If I come up with a better one, mid.
If you come up with someone later and you want to throw that in, just say
All
it.
right,
Stop me what
all
I'm
right.
doing, and we'll go from there.
Sorry. Oh my God, what's the name of the actor?
LeVar Burton.
Yeah, sorry, Lamar. He
LeVar
was kind
Burton.
of like so he was kind of a dual hero for me when I was young because yes, he was on the Enterprise, but he was also reading Rainbow. I don't know if you guys got that in the
So
UK.
I was going to say you're going to have to. I know what it is, but you're going to have to
Mhm.
explain that for our UK listeners, watchers, and that sort of thing.
It was just like an educational TV show about reading.
Hmm.
LeVar Burton was the host, and he's just came off as like super likable and friendly and like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
It's got a banger of a intro song, so if you want to look it up,
Do you know what? I will find it and I will put the link for that in the description, along with the links of where they
beautiful.
can
Yeah,
find you
people
online.
like
So
that.
that's there.
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing to add. That's
yeah.
really cool. Right. What would you like to most change about yourself?
Hmm. Hmm. It's a good question. I think I'm pretty good at doing that if I can recognize it. Like I was in bad shape and I decided to change that. Kind of I realized that a lot of people think that I come off as like an asshole on the internet. Um and it's weird because like I was just explaining this to somebody yesterday that they think uh they were asking me if I thought that I was like direct and honest, and I said that like the internet tells me that I'm like brutally honest, and like
Mm.
it comes off as like assholish. I've tried to change that. I think if I were able to recognize something that I'd like to change about myself, I think I'm already in the process of doing it. So maybe it's better to ask somebody else what I should change about myself.
Well, it's interesting you bring that one up because you and I have a history of that.
Really?
Where, yeah. So I think you said something on Twitter, I responded back. You didn't like what I said or something at the time, and you blocked me instantly, like that sort of thing.
Oh,
And I
really?
was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I'm like,
Weird.
but I'm in his Discord for lo-fi, so I can
Oh,
still
right.
talk to him, sort of thing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then no, but years, time goes by, people change, all that sort of stuff, and it's great because just so everyone knows, we've actually met in person as well. So when I came over to Canada to meet him, we all got to hang out in a bar and got to actually know each other a bit better, and we had a great time. It was really good. So I think it's very important that people should understand that someone's persona online a lot of the time is not who they are in the real world, and they're two very
Oh,
different things sometimes.
100%.
Sometimes it
Especially
is
if
the
it's
same,
Twitter.
but sometimes it isn't. And the other thing I think with particular, you get 144 characters, right? And it's very difficult to understand tone with that. And you can do that over email as well, because you don't have that visual connection when you're actually talking to someone face to face. So I think some things can get misconstrued, misunderstood. So I can
I think
understand.
it's happened a lot where somebody assumes that they hate me, and then I meet them in real life, and they're like, "Oh, you're not what? Who are you?"
Yeah.
But it's weird because I don't. I think like maybe it is the 140 character thing. Like I'm very direct, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm very opinionated, but I'm like that in real life as well. So I
Yes,
don't know. I don't know what it is.
I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, I
Sort
don't
of
know. I
thing.
don't know. I think
Yeah.
maybe it's like uh, it's more of like when you actually know me, you realize that it's non-threatening. Like I'm willing to listen to reason. I'm not like
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
No, I agree. I completely agree with that because let's get some real here as well. It's like I was actually quite trepidatious of meeting you in person
Mm.
because I was like, not had the best interaction online with him, sort of thing,
Yeah,
and
right.
it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and Zim, who's the guy who introduced us, was kind of like, it'd be fine, and it was great, and it was like, oh, this is a completely different person to what I was expecting. Thank
Right.
Christ! Like,
Yeah, yeah, that's weird. You know who Skiva was another one where it's like Skiva and I like I assumed he hated me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he did. And then we met at the VRTO conference and
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, now we're best buds.
Yeah,
I ended
no,
up like
it's
yeah.
yeah, and it's good that people are able to turn that around because
Mhm.
another thing I always believe is like you can disagree with someone, but that doesn't mean you hate them.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think
No,
so.
I disagree with almost everybody. And it's like but I need to yeah, that's an important lesson. You can yeah, on fundamental things too. I think that's something that people don't allow for anymore. Is like we can completely disagree politically, like spiritually, like I don't care. Like that's fine with me. I don't care about your politics. Like
Hmm.
there's a lot to love about everybody. It's not
Yeah, it's like as
any
long
one
as
thing.
I think one of the best phrases, and I can't remember who it was that said it to me, but I've kind of lived my life by it, which is be humble, but let motherfuckers know.
Right.
Which I think is a really good way. It's like, yeah, you can be, chill and that sort of thing. But if someone is out of line, you make sure they know they're out of line. And that's
Right, right.
kind of what I think on
Yeah.
that front. Okay. So, what type of routine do you follow daily, if any type of routine at all?
Oh yeah. I definitely do. I mean, I wake up anytime between like noon and 2, depending on if it's a weekend or not. I generally have a coffee right away. Get out to the gym. Uh, I mean, so that's 3 days on, 1 day off, though.
Mm-hmm.
today. Well, today I'll go to the gym after this. Yeah, and then generally come home, have another. Oh no, okay. So beside my gym, there's a place called the Guild House. It's like a games workshop, board game kind of like nerd store. They have
Mhm.
excellent coffee there, so I'll have a coffee there after the
Mhm.
gym. Uh, Maybe stand in the sun for a little bit and enjoy that coffee. Come home and then generally work all night. Um, yeah, sit here at the battle station.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
That's it. It's pretty unexciting, but I mean the work is a lot of fun though, right? It's not.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the excitement in my life, I think.
Yeah.
I should include, okay, so I have a daughter who's 11 as well,
Yeah.
and a lot of the time after the gym, I pick her up from school and we hang out. Yeah,
So
so
what sort of stuff do you do with your daughter? You take her out? Do you do stuff together? You watch?
oh yeah, all kinds of stuff. We went and saw Beetlejuice, the new Beetlejuice movie recently.
Okay.
She, I mean, she's at that kind of like just bury herself in the iPad age. So hauling her out to do things is tricky. Like, I don't know. Yeah, she likes to do like go to the dollar store and you know she with her mother she likes to go like to thrift stores and stuff. So with me it's more like yeah dollar store. Yeah, I don't know. We just chill.
Yeah,
We play
that's
games
cool.
sometimes. We're playing Minecraft Dungeons recently, which
Yeah.
is cool because it's like Diablo but for Minecraft nerds.
Yeah.
She's huge into like Minecraft and Roblox. So yeah.
Ah, good. That's really nice. Cool. So, who has inspired you the most?
Inspired. Uh, hmm. I think depends what we're talking about. Like, I mean, so for games, I think like I don't know if I would give it like a company. I would say, like Bethesda, BioWare, I think inspired a lot of my like gaming philosophy. I think about the first time I played Morrowind a lot. Uh, the so I was working at Rockstar at the time, and we all bought Morrowind. I tell the story a lot. We all bought Morrowind on a Friday and went home for the weekend and played it, and then came back in and talked about it like around the water cooler. We didn't have a water cooler, whatever. Uh, Drinking our pops or coffees. And then none of us had the same story. We all had a completely different experience with the game. Like one guy became a vampire and couldn't come out during the day, and like we all went off in different directions and had completely different experiences. And that blew my mind that we could make a game that was like completely different for everybody. Like everyone could have their own experience with it. So that was a huge inspiration. Um, Visually, a huge inspiration for me is obviously like Ridley Scott,
Mm-hmm.
kind of not just Ridley Scott, but that kind of that era of sort of late late 70s, early 80s sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, really visually inspired me, and the sci-fi of the era, just movies in general, not just sci-fi either. Like I like a lot of horror from that era. Um, yeah, like 70s and 80s kind of cinema.
Yeah. No, again,
As far
that's
as
sort of
a person, I don't have anyone like spiritual or anything really.
no. I do same. I'm not that way inclined at all. But I
Mhm.
get the thing with the 70s and 80s aesthetics with the films that they had back then because they were a very distinct look, and you can literally,
Mhm.
if you're like flicking through the channels and there's a film that is made in that time, you can instantly tell. Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
clearly that time
exactly.
period. You can spot
Yeah,
it
it's
a
like the
mile
film
off.
stock and just like the way it's. I think I've been thinking about that a lot lately about like grain, like film grain, and
Hmm.
like noise that we had from like composite video,
Yeah.
and like how it kind of adds texture to things, and like when things are super clean and HD now, it's like I guess it's sort of the same thing about like reading a book. Like your mind fills in the gaps, and like it becomes more immersive because your brain is doing some work. And I think it's the same with like grain and noise and kind of like I want to say lower quality, but it's not that it's lower quality. It's like that there's like a texture to the medium.
Yeah, I
And I'm
mean,
trying to get some of that back.
sure. I mean, it's like as much as I enjoy a lot of the new Marvel films, everything looks too clean. I
Yeah, yeah.
think is the word. There doesn't seem to be, and it's not like grime, but you know what I mean. It's kind of everything has a little
Yeah.
bit more sort of
Well,
realistic texture
there's
to
something
it,
to that.
and
There's also something to like the kind of kitbash nature of old stuff where now things will go directly from a concept artist
yeah,
to a computer, and there's no sort of happy accidents.
hmm
There's no like guerrilla filmmaking aspect to it, and the same with games, right? So yeah, I try to kind of embrace that because yeah, there's something to it. It's like all of the greatest things that we can think of, like the coolest shit, like the time machine from Back to the Future, the lightsaber, they're all kitbash. The
yeah,
Nostromo from Alien, it's all like somebody went to a junkyard and was like, let's
yeah.
build something cool, you know?
The most recent one I can think of that is a kit bash, and this always makes me laugh when I see it, is from the Phantom Menace,
Mm.
and the Jedi's have a communicator,
Oh
and the
yeah.
communicator is a Gillette ladies razor.
Oh, is it? That's
That's what
hilarious.
it does.
Just
Yeah.
painted.
Yep. It's a
That's funny.
Gillette ladies razor with a massive
Yeah.
big handle, and that's what they use as the
But that's great
communicator.
because the rest of the movie, like all of the backgrounds are completely CG in that movie,
Yep.
right? Like it almost looks silly now.
Yeah.
Like it kind of looked not great at the time, but now when
Yeah.
you look at it, it's like a child's production because like they're all standing on a green screen. It's
Yeah, it's all
weird.
on a big sound stage, and there's nothing there. I mean, there's a story for about Ian McKellen when he was filming The Hobbit, and apparently he
Mm.
broke down into tears on set because he was just talking to a tennis ball for 3 hours.
Oh right.
And
Was he
it was like,
laughing? He's just
how
like
am I
just
supposed to do this sort of thing?
yeah, 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 yeah. It's wild.
That's crazy. Oh, that's section one, Blair. We've got to know a bit more about
Yay.
you as a person,
We
so that's
made it.
great.
Yeah.
So, as I said, we're going to talk about some VR and gaming now because that's where everyone knows everyone from. So, what was your first experience in gaming?
And games like in
Gaming, yeah,
general.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, God, probably it would have been like going to a bar or like a restaurant bar
Mm-hmm.
with my mom and seeing like I'm pretty sure the first game I ever saw was Kung Fu Master, uh, the arcade cabinet,
Mm-hmm.
and possibly like Arkanoid, I think,
Yeah,
like a
with the
cocktail cabinet, like
with the
where you sit
dial.
down at
Yeah.
the table. Yeah. Yeah, and I think yeah, that's probably I don't know what year that would have been. Like yeah, it would have been like a baby. But my whole area for some reason I grew up in like a suburb of Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's another town. It's called Oakville. And there was like every convenience store had arcade machines. Every sub shop had arcade machines. There were literal like full arcades, like three of them on like the street that I grew up on, like the main
Mm-hmm.
street. So I was like really early on, I was just surrounded by arcade machines, which you can tell obviously like influenced me greatly. Yeah, but and then shortly after that, it would have been like the Nintendo Entertainment System, like the
Mm-hmm.
early NES. I think like my godmother's brother had one
Mm-hmm.
uh with Zelda, and he let me borrow it. So I don't even think he had Mario. I think Mario they had in arcade cabinets though. Like I could play Super Mario Brothers in the arcade. Yeah, and then I played The Legend of Zelda at home on the NES. And that was probably like my first like real like I'm sitting at home gaming
Yeah.
playing which is weird because like Zelda didn't really like stick with me as like a standout, like it's one of my favorites, but it was definitely my first full gaming experience.
Oh, that's good. So, what was your first experience in VR?
Okay, this is a wild one actually. I don't know what year this was. Like early 90s, I'd say like probably 90, somewhere between 93 and 95. We had this thing, it's called the Canadian National Exhibition. It's like a it's like for a month at the end of every summer. It's like a big carnival thing, and
Hmm.
like, but they also have like a big exhibition center where this like the world of tomorrow kind of crap. And they had I think it was a virtuality machine. So like the when
Right.
you stand in with the
Yeah, yeah,
ring,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know the ones.
yeah. So
The
I
great big thing.
yeah,
You
big
plunk it
giant
down,
helmet.
didn't it? Yeah.
So I get into that, and I don't remember the name of the game. I've looked it up a couple times, and I wish I could remember it. But it was basically like a rail shooter where you were walking, and there were just like robots or something to kill, or they might have been people, whatever. They were like, 20 polygon
Yeah.
figures you were shooting at. But I think it was dual wield. Like I had two tracked guns, and I was playing it for quite a while. And I remember the two people working the booth took the helmet off my head and they were just staring at me like shocked. And I was like, what happened? And they were like, dude, we've never seen anyone get that far. It was like, and I was like, oh, I felt like the wizard, man. I was like, this is it. This is like, it was such a cool experience, and it wasn't nauseating. It wasn't like, I'm sure the frame rate was terrible, but it was
Hmm.
like, it was. I think there was Vection forward doesn't really make me sick unless there's a lot of like smooth transitions between
Hmm.
acceleration, and I think it was just a constant speed moving forward the whole time, so it didn't bother me. But yeah, I was like, wow, this is cool. And then I didn't see VR for another. It wasn't that long actually. So I started working at Rockstar in '96, and they had a VFX One headset, and
Right.
I got it working with a game called Flight Unlimited, and that was the only thing I could get it to work with. It was like a biplane simulator thing. I
Hmm.
think. I think
I
it
know
might
the
have had
one.
more
I
things.
remember it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
But
it
it was
ran on.
very cool.
Was that on the Amiga? Something like that. I
It might
think.
have also been on the Amiga,
Might
but
have been.
like I
Yeah.
was running it on a PC. It was probably
PC.
like
Yeah.
a Pentium at that point.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
So, what has been your favorite experience in VR that you've ever done?
I think some of the early stuff where it was just like experiential, like it was literally just the experience of my mind opening to the possibility of
Hmm.
VR, I think was my favorite stuff. So early on, there was some weird stuff. There was one called Greebles, which I really remember vividly, where you're just flying through like a gray space, and there's these sort of like fractal, like cuboid things just like floating past you in this like foggy. I'm sure if you look it up, there's got to be a video of it somewhere. It
Okay.
only ran on like DK1, maybe DK2. And then there was one called Blocked In, um, made by I think it was Daniel Ernst, who's still around and I think still making VR stuff. But it was just like it was a kind of a diorama of a bedroom with Tetris in it. This was all like papercraft looking. And
Okay.
outside the window was a big, like Tetris was going on outside. And
Hmm.
you just sort of like were in this environment, just kind of like realizing like, oh, I'm in a world, like a surreal place. yeah, so there was a lot of stuff like that, like early experimental stuff, and I made some of that stuff too. I made one called The Room that was just like it was just this crazy room full of all these assets that I found. And I spent a lot of time in there just kind of soaking it in. I made one called The City where it was just like you were standing at the corner in a city and these giant like sentinel robots were walking by and just getting the sense of scale of like buildings and things walking by. As far as like gaming goes, I don't think VR went where I was hoping it would go. I'm not a huge like gamer. I'm like
Hmm.
I like RPGs. I like casual things. I like ARPGs like Diablo and things like that. So there's not a lot of that in VR. I played the shit out of Skyrim when the first like I think on DK2 when
Hmm.
somebody made like a deep like I probably have logged more hours in Skyrim in those early days than I have any other VR experience since then.
Mm.
Um, but it's weird because I haven't gone back with like the good Skyrim mods with the like a CV1 and beyond.
Sure.
Uh, yeah, I don't really like I said, it didn't really go the way I was hoping it went. Like I'm trying to make where I wanted it to go,
Hmm.
more the kind of like more experiential, more kind of like holodeck like,
Yeah.
and less gamey. Like I haven't even played the Batman game. I should. Oh my god, this is so embarrassing. I haven't played Half-Life Alex. Uh, I've wa-
Really?
I've watched some video of it. I was kind of like really busy with lo-fi at the time it launched, and now it's just gotten to the point where it's like, oh, I should get around to that, as opposed to like,
You
yeah,
should. You
I
really
know,
should.
I will,
I
and
want
it's
to hear
also to a
that
point
story.
where the headsets are uncomfortable now, and I don't
Mm.
want to spend that much time in it. I might try it with the I've got the PSVR 2. I think it might be more comfortable to play in that than it would be with the Quest
So
3.
my main headset that I've always used has always been the Index because it's just been
Mm,
the most comfortable. It's the
yeah,
only headset that I've not had to buy something else to make it comfortable.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but because of how tech moves on, the
Mhm.
PSVR 2 is now my daily driver on PC.
Yeah, I think that's the way
Um,
to do it.
yeah,
You should
that's
stick
what
with
I
it.
use all the time now.
The Quest
Okay.
3 is great, but it's super uncomfortable. And I sold my Index years ago.
I still have mine. You can probably see it in the cabinet behind me over there. It's sitting there.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I've got my little stuff on display. Cool. All right. So, what has been your worst experience in VR?
Oh my God. There's been a lot, man. Because I'm a developer, people are like always trying to get me to try stuff. Like
Hmm.
try my janky VR thing. What made me the sickest? That's probably the worst one. I got really sick with Eve Valkyrie, which is a shame
Really,
because I loved Eve Valkyrie.
it's
It
one of
was
my
like a launch title.
favorites.
Yeah, but it made me super nauseous. I'm not a fan of that type of game anyway, like Wing Commander and stuff. Like the chase the dot game is what I feel like I'm playing. I'm like just
You and
rolling
I are going to
around.
fall out with this
Yeah,
because I grew up playing X-wing TIE Fighter Wing
yeah,
Commander,
yeah. I
and
love like the I remember loading up TIE Fighter just to watch the cinematics.
hmm
I love and especially that style, like the pixel art with like the
yeah,
grimy like FM audio of of the early PC titles. But
hmm
I never enjoyed the gameplay, unfortunately. Yeah.
oh, dude, I've got like 600 hours in Elite Dangerous in VR.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
Elite Dangerous, I had a bad experience with too. It was like just because I tried to play it too early on, and it
Hmm.
wasn't really like it wasn't at all obvious how to play it, and I ended up like I tried it a couple times, and the best I could do was like get into orbit around a planet, and then I was like stuck, and I could not for the life of me figure out how to get out of.
I've had this conversation about Elite Dangerous with someone else before, and I like that, okay? Because you have to get a license to drive a car, yeah?
Yeah.
You should have to learn and get a license to fly a goddamn spaceship. So I think it should be difficult, and it
I
should be.
guess, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just in VR, it's like if something frustrates me and I take
Mm-hmm.
off the headset, the friction has increased by like 1,000-fold because now I have to like not only is it the friction of putting the headset on, it's like, oh, I gotta like figure out that shit, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I don't want to do that. Like, I'll
So
just
you may have answered my next question with that statement, actually. So the question is, when you're trying a new game, whether it be a VR or a flat game, what instantly turns you on or off?
yeah, I think well, so this is the problem is it can be a combination of those two things where a if I'm in a tutorial for an hour and a half plus, I'm out. I'm out. I'm infuriated by the. It's because either that means the game's overly complicated,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or yeah, I'll get bored of that. I just like let me into the world, and if it's too complicated for me to figure out on my own, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I probably don't want to play it.
So I would add to that though is every VR game could be someone's first VR game.
Mhm.
So I think there has to be some degree of hand holding, but not where
Mhm.
it's in the way, so to speak.
But I think the best VR games don't require it, right? It's like aside from like maybe use the thumbstick to move, and
Mm-hmm.
then the rest of it should be intuitive, right? It's like
Yeah.
okay, I picked this up. I don't know, unless it's some sort of like surreal thing where your hands aren't your hands. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, if it's a
but
one-to-one recreation of like, oh, this is my left hand, this is my right hand, then yeah, fair enough. That's and you get it,
mhm.
and you can
I
reach
don't.
out and touch stuff and things. Yeah.
It's funny because like I'm really into. Excuse me, I'm really into role playing games, so I'm for a little bit of complexity in systems, but
Mm-hmm.
I think as far as the interactions go, it shouldn't be that complex. That like that's another reason I get frustrated with something like Elite Dangerous. It's weird though, because like I played a shitload of Mech Warrior when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I'm less interested in that stuff now. Maybe it was like that. Maybe the arcades ruined me, and it's like I just want something that I can jump into. You
I just
know?
want two buttons and a joystick, and that's fine, isn't it? That's sort
Yeah,
of
it's
thing.
like I remember what I don't remember which Zelda game it was, but there was a Zelda game where it was literally like only one button. I think it was on the N64, right? Like you could play one handed. It was like a Zelda game, and it was like
Oh,
the trigger did
yeah.
everything. It was like jump, it was attack, and it was like
Mm.
I was like,
It
oh
was
my
all
god, this is the
contextual, wasn't it?
yeah, I was like, this is
Yeah.
the future of games. Like, why do I need a second button? And that comes back to me every once in a while. I remember playing Cyberpunk 2077, and it was like, I was like, why isn't this all the same key? It was like things like I don't remember what it was. It was like jump and interact and like there were all of these keys that were like it could have just been contextual because you
Mm-hmm.
can never do them all at the same time. So it's
Yeah.
like, why isn't this all just like the action key or something? You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
leave me
The
alone.
closest I had that was I think it was actually Arkham Asylum, the Batman game when that came out. And it's you push forward on your analog stick, but if you want him to run, you have to hold down one of the buttons at the same time. And I'm like,
Right.
it's an analog stick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If
That's
it's like
exactly
if
the kind
I'm
of thing I mean. It's like it's like they overly complicate it.
hmm,
And I come from an era where it was like, so this is a funny story related to that. I was working on Oni. There's this game called Oni, and we're porting it to PlayStation 2,
mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, from PC. And on PC, it was mouse to control the camera
Yep,
and like arrow keys to move, I guess, or
yep,
WASD. Uh, and there was no like internet to speak of at the time, and no like way to figure out what other people were doing. And nobody, as far as I know, had done dual analog controls at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So we were trying to figure out what are the controls going to be, and I brought it to my superior at the time and was like, okay, hear me out. Left stick moves the character, right stick controls the camera, and then we'll
Mm-hmm.
have all of the actions on the triggers. And
Mm-hmm.
he literally called me the R word. He was like, "This is like," he's like, "That's too," he's like, "That's way too complicated. Nobody's ever gonna like, that's too much. Like, we're gonna have to figure out something else, right? It's like nobody can do two sticks and the buttons at the same time." Anyway, turns out that that's what they did. And like that's the norm at this point. And like
Mm.
I'm pretty sure that like I don't know if there was any other game that had done it at the time. There might have been games that they were working on at the time
Sure.
where like maybe they came out around the same time, but yeah, I don't know why that came to mind. Oh, because it was like it seemed overly complicated at the time, but now it's
Sure.
like it's a given. It's just like it's what everybody
Yeah.
does, you know.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think again, you look back at what controls used to be and what they are now, and I think it's actually going the other way now because, I mean, I've had like younger people go, you sitting down in front of a keyboard and mouse, and all they've ever had is a tablet,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
why have I got a keyboard? Why not just put it on the screen so I can press the? And you're
Yeah,
like, what? Like that.
yeah.
I even saw a show, a game show. There was a demo saying, and a kid walked up to the computer and went to swipe the screen,
Yeah, yeah.
thinking, and I'm like, I'm old. Just
I
looking
handed
around.
I handed a kid my PSP, like my first gen PSP. This was
Mm-hmm.
a few years ago, and it was like I just had like Super Mario running on it or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's whatever. It's modded. It's got emulators and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I handed it to him, and he starts touching the screen. I'm like, no, you have to use the buttons. And then he starts touching the buttons like they're touch screens.
Oh
I'm like,
wow!
dude, no, like push them. Like
It
he had no idea like what a mechanical button was. You know,
yeah.
it blew my mind. So
It is.
my
It
kid
is.
knows.
It is turning to literally that scene from Back to the Future 2, where the kid in the
Yeah. Oh,
arcade
you
says
got to
to
use
him,
your hands.
exactly.
The babysit.
It
Yeah,
does feel like it's going that way.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. So it depends. Like you can, like I raised my daughter. I have an arcade machine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have all the old systems with actual buttons and stuff. So she gets it. But I wonder if like they're even going to be missing something, or if this is just old man shit that we're worried about. You know, like
It's entirely possible.
yeah,
But you know what? I'm comfortable with it, and that's the main
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it can't be a bad thing to actually understand mechanical switches and stuff, right?
I don't think so.
No.
It's quite good.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. So, what do you think right now is the most beneficial hardware or software advancement for VR?
Hmm. I think the God software. It's like could say something on both. Software, the the utility of the Vision OS is a huge step forward. That I can't believe that Meta hasn't figured out yet. That like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this thing needs to do more than just game and we can't just blindfold people with the headset. It has to be more than just a gaming console. It has to
Mm-hmm.
have functionality. So on the software side, it's just like utility in general. On the hardware side, I would say the pass-through cameras are very important because, like I said, it's like putting on a blindfold. Or like somebody put it a different way the other day. They were like, VR is like putting a bucket on your head. You have to be willing to put a bucket on your head. So like this game has got to be good enough that I'm gonna put a bucket on my head, and like we can get past that. At least put some holes in the bucket, right? So that I can still drink my coffee or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's been a huge advancement.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said the hardest thing to get anyone to do VR is to put it on in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Yeah,
people look at it and go, I'm not doing that. And it's like,
yeah,
please try it. You'll enjoy it,
yeah,
I swear. So
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
great. Okay, so What has been your proudest achievement in your VR journey?
Uh, I think like just being there, and kind of feeling like I had some sort of voice, and like being able to maybe like what's the word for it? Like inspire people to maybe that's kind of selfish because I'm like I definitely have sort of an agenda with VR.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it didn't really go the way I wanted it to, and like so I feel like if I can get people to think outside the box when it comes to VR and think
Mm-hmm.
more about what the potential of it can be. So like that, it is kind of selfish. It's like saying that my greatest achievement is to kind of sway people to my way of thinking. But but I think like I'm really proud to have been there at the beginning and feel like I had an effect on where it's gone. Whether
Mm-hmm.
that's recognized or not is another thing. I think a lot of the early VR kind of pioneers, people that were working with DK1s have like from top to bottom, like from Palmer and Carmack down to the little old me are
Mm-hmm.
out of it now. They're like it's like and I don't know if and their achievements are also being kind of like even Palmer is kind of we don't talk about Palmer, right? And the influence he had, but he's literally like the catalyst for
Yeah.
this whole resurgence. So it's like, but he like I'm sure he still has the feeling of like, well, at least I did this. I
Yeah.
influenced it,
I
and
was there, sort of thing.
yeah, and it's like that's all I can be happy about is like I was there. I feel like I had some sort of influence on the trajectory of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make it into the History of the Future book, but I'm good friends with Blake Harris who wrote it, and I was at Palmer's wedding, so it's like I feel like I'm deep in this. It's like yeah, whether anybody cares 20 years from now is another thing.
Oh, that's really cool, man. That's good. Okay, so that's everything about VR and gaming for this time. So what we're going to do now, it's a questionnaire that was created by a French journalist called Bernard Pivot. They're pretty simple, straightforward questions. A lot of them are one-word answers. If you want to expand on it, go for it at all. Don't think about your answers too much. First thing that pops in your head, just straight out with it. Yeah?
Okay,
Cool.
I'm
So let's
scared.
begin.
Should I be scared?
No, not at all. It's
Like a word
fine.
association thing. You're gonna
No, no,
later on
no,
be like,
no,
oh,
no,
you're
not at all. There is no
psychopath.
test afterwards. There's no exam. So you've already passed just by turning up. So it's
There's
fine
no.
as far as
I'm more worried about analysis than a test.
that's. I am not doing any of that. But if anyone watching wants to comment down below, be my guest. So that's the sort of thing. It's all engagement, Blair. Bring it. But that's
All
the
right,
sort
all
of
right,
thing.
all right,
That's
I'm
the way
ready.
we do
Okay,
it. Cool.
okay.
All right. What is your favourite word?
My favorite word. I have a favorite Japanese word.
Go for it.
It's oh god, I don't remember it now. It's the word for post office. Yo Yobinkyoku? I don't know why it always stuck in my head.
Okay.
English.
That's the
I have a word in English that I hate, and
well.
it's only.
Because the next question
Oh,
is what is your
oh,
least
okay,
favourite word?
okay. Wait, I need a favorite English word.
Okay.
I like no, God, I don't know. I don't know. I
That's
have a lot
cool.
of
The
favorite
Japanese
English
word
words.
is fine. That works. That's your favorite word. That's the
I
first thing
don't
that
even
came
know
to
if
your
I
head.
said
That's
it
good.
right. It's like like it used to stick in my head, and now I'm not sure if it was
It's because I put
Yo
you on the
Pink
spot.
Yoku or
That's
You
why.
Pink Yoku. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
maybe.
because I put you on the spot. It's cool. So, what is your least favorite word?
Yeah, the word only in English only like
Only. Okay.
it's
Gotcha.
only a scratch. For some reason,
Hmm.
when it's said more than once, it starts to sound like you're just making a noise with your face. And I'm like, how could that possibly have like an etymology? Like, what can, where could that word have come from?
So someone at work the other day said something, and someone turned around and went, "That word's made up." And I went, "Technically, all words are made up."
All words are made up.
This sort of thing. It's good. Cool. Right. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Just passion. When somebody else having passion for something.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. What turns you off?
Yeah, lack of hobbies,
Yeah.
like interests. When somebody is like, all they do is like watch TV or something, like they don't have any hobbies or interests. I just think that's disgusting. I'm like, you're subhuman.
So remember, as you said earlier, Blair has opinions. Just so you know.
Yeah, that was a bit far. I mean, like, that might be what I'm like. Yeah, that's a bit far. That's hyperbolic. I think like, yeah, for like a potential mate or something, if they have no interests, then I don't understand how you function. Like, how do you? I have so many interests. I don't have enough time in a day to do all of the things that I want to do and
Dude,
learn about and stuff.
So this year I was made redundant from a job, right? So I had no job, and I had all of summer off. And by the end of summer, I managed to get myself a new job. But all through summer, I was like, how the hell am I going to fit a job in around this? Because I'm doing so much stuff. It was crazy. It was nuts.
You get to be retired for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, I can be really good at retirement at the minute. I just couldn't fund it. That's the main problem I have. All right. What is your favorite curse word?
My favorite curse word? Probably fuck. Like,
Yeah, that's cool.
Everybody's favorite curse word?
No, you'd be surprised. There's quite a few different ones. That's quite common, but there's quite a few different ones. But that's good.
Yeah.
Right. What sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise?
Yeah.
I mean, this can get dirty.
Go for it.
Let's go cute. There's nothing quite as satisfying and like relaxing as a cat's purr, like a cat on my chest purring.
Yeah, I feel you with that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Cool. So on the flip side, what sound or noise do you hate?
Hmm. I guess like, I mean, the one that gives me anxiety is like, kids do this thing like between the age of like 3 probably and like 6, where they'll just like shriek at each other, like see who can be the loudest, like, and it just like, it makes me want to like murder when I hear it on the playground.
When my son was growing up, when it was like birthday time, a birthday party, Dad would go and set up the party and get everything ready, and then fuck off and leave them to it because I couldn't deal with that noise either. It's what I would do. It's terrible.
I think kids are meant to, like, when they're that age, I think they're meant to just be like together somewhere for like 90% of the day, and it's like, I don't need to be there. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear the dumb shit coming out of your mouths. I don't want to hear your prepubescent chest beating noises. Like, that's the thing. It's like, okay, so I've had kids do that to me where they'll come up to me and it's like a threat display. They'll yell at me like they're testing their boundaries, right?
Asserting dominance.
And in nature, if they did that, they would get what's coming to them. And we live in a society, so I can't do that, right?
But you can go home and dwell on it. That's the main thing.
So that's a noise I don't like.
Cool. What profession, other than your own, would you like to attempt?
This is controversial. I always kind of wanted to be like a police detective.
Really?
Yeah, I think I'd be really good at it. I actually went into security for a while, kind of in my between game developer
Hmm.
things, kind of testing the waters to see if I wanted to
Right. Interesting.
fully dive into that. Yeah.
Okay. So which profession would you not like to do?
Oh God, there's a lot. There's a lot. I think um, any sort of like mundane sort of like factory work,
Hmm.
like I would lose my mind. I remember I was doing they did like there's these places where you can go and like just get a job for the day. It's like a work for hire thing if you're hurting. And I went to one and they were like, okay, you're gonna go to the razor blade packing factory and pack razor blades for 12 hours. And I was like, no, you know what? No, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm
No, I'm
not hurting
not.
that much. Thanks.
And I'm like, yeah, I can't do it. I was like, I would rather not because it's like I think it would be psychologically damaging to me after,
Mm,
like one shift maybe I can handle, but I'm like, yeah, I would lose my mind. If I have to be like focusing on the thing
hmm.
and it's also like mind numbing, like if I can't let my mind wander, like security was bad sometimes, like having to like
Sure,
sit at a desk and stare at a camera is like, but at least I can think about other things. I'm just looking
sure.
for visual cues or whatever. But yeah, mind numbing manual labor.
Cool. Right. So our final question for you this evening is: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
uh, I don't know, like you did good, bro. Like a pat on
That's
the
a.
back.
I mean, to be fair, if God does exist and that's what you get, that's a pretty good recommendation. To
Yeah,
be
that's
fair,
it.
isn't
That's
it?
it.
That's good.
Just a pat on the back. He doesn't even need to say anything.
That's cool. Well, there you go, Blair. That has been you behind the headset. Thank you
Yeah,
ever so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed it.
it's been a blast.
It's been good. Do you got any pluggables? You want to let people know where they can find you on the internet? Anything you got going on?
Uh, I mean, I've been using Twitter less lately, but you can follow me at anticleric on the. Oh, it's not even Twitter anymore. On X
I
at
refuse to call
anticleric.
it X. No, it
Yeah,
will always be Twitter. So,
I feel like
yeah.
that's an old guy thing too. We're gonna get
Yep,
laughed at in a couple
pretty
years.
much.
I mean, my game, Lo-Fi, we didn't talk about that at all, but you can get that in early access if you're a PC VR gamer. You can wishlist it on Steam, wishlist it on the PS5 store. That's LOW-FI, and that will come out sometime in the future. So I just want to say, like, I'm connected with a producer now. We're going for another like funding round. We're trying to get some like money in the door and actually like make this thing a banger.
That's good to
Uh,
hear, man. I'm really
so
pleased for it.
it's happening. Yeah.
Cool. That's excellent. Excellent. Again, thank you very much. And, thanks everyone for watching. Leave a comment below. If you really enjoyed it, let us know. If you didn't enjoy it, let us know. If there's someone you'd like to see on the show, put that down there as well. Let's see if we can get them on. But again, thank you very much, Blair. And we'll just say goodbye to everyone. Bye now.
All right. Bye.